I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I sure can, yeah, loud and clear.
Okay.
Welcome to the Town of Vesuvius regular open meeting of council, May 24th, 2022. And thank you to all our visitors today. We have a full house today, plus a few people that are on Zoom up on the screen. Welcome, Councillor Rhodes. We see you up there. So I'll call the meeting to order at 2 o'clock. And first off is the approval of the agenda and any late items. We're okay? Yes, thank you. So could we have a motion, please? Councillor Rhodes, Councillor Harvey, all in favor. I'm looking at Councillor Bennett said Councillor Rhodes, but never mind, we'll get you the next time. And the adoption of some minutes. The special open minutes from May the 4th, 2022, the regular open minutes from May the 10th, 2022, and the special open minutes of May the 10th, 2022. Could we have a motion to accept those, please? Councillor King, Councillor Bennett, all in favor. Thank you. And we do not have any business arising. So what we're going to start with is today we have 2 public hearings. And we're going to start with one and complete that one, and then we will go to the second one right after that. So I will start with the public hearing, which the first one at 2:02 p.m. And I will read the statement of the chair. This is the first one, right? This public hearing is convened pursuant to section 464 of the Local Government Act, RSBC 2015, to allow the public to make representation to council respecting matters contained in zoning amendment bylaw number 1085.142 2022. Every person who believes that their interest in property is affected by the proposed bylaw shall be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard respecting matters contained in the proposed bylaw. None of you will be discouraged or prevented from making your views known. However, it is important that you restrict your remarks to matters contained in the proposed bylaw. If you wish to speak once, it is time for public presentation, and are attending in person, please proceed to the microphone and commence your remarks by clearly stating your name and address. If you wish to speak and are attending virtually, please virtually raise your hand. If you are unsure how to do this, you can find the information on the town's website, https://vesuvius.ca/public hearings. It will be your turn to speak once your name or phone number has been called. Your microphone will be muted and you may commence your remarks by clearly unmuted, if you may commence your remarks by clearly stating your name and address. Once you have finished speaking, your microphone will be muted. If they wish, members of council may ask you questions following your presentation. However, the function of council at this public hearing is to listen to you rather than to debate the merits of the proposed bylaw. In accordance with the council procedure bylaw, presentations by members of the public shall be limited to a maximum of 5 minutes each. If a person has additional information that they are unable to provide within that time frame, they shall be given further opportunity to address council after all other interested members of the public have been heard a first time. Please refrain from applause or other expressions of emotion during this public hearing so that we may ensure as impartial a hearing as possible. After this public hearing is adjourned, council members will not speak to the public on this matter until after the matter has been dealt with at a public meeting. After this public hearing has concluded, council may without further notice give whatever effect council believes proper to the representations made at this hearing. So I will ask the Corporate Services Director, please, to give the confirmation of notice requirements.
Notice the public hearing is given in accordance with the Local Government Act and the Community Charter by distributing the notices as follows. Publishing in 2 consecutive editions of the Times Chronicle, which were May 12th and May 19th. Placed on the notice and bulletin boards at the Town Office and Planning Development Services Department on May 11th. Posting the notice on the town's website on May 11th and distributed via e-news on May 12th. And notices were mailed out on May 11th. and hand delivered within a 60-meter radius on May 11th.
Thank you. Could you also give the summary of the staff report?
The purpose of the meeting is to seek public input on zoning amendment bylaw number 1085-142, which received first and second reading on May 10th. Bylaw number 1085-142 proposes to rezone the property from an R1 single-family residential to R2 single-family residential small lot to allow the owner to subdivide and create one new small residential lot.
Thank you. And now I'm going to ask our planning technician, Ms. Curtis, to please present the zoning report.
Thank you, Mayor McCormick. This proposal pertains to property located at 4008 Oleander Drive, as stated. The department recommends that the zoning amendment bylaw 1085.142 2022 be read for a third time. So the applicant for this property is Herb Witcherly, and the owner is Gary and Marie Johnson. The civic address is stated is 4008 Oleander Drive, and the legal description is Lot 4, District Lot 2450S, SDYD, Plan 10986. The official community plan designation is a low medium density residential, and the zoning is currently R1 single family residential, and the proposed is R2 single family residential small lot. And the zoning bylaw number 1085 is zoning amendment is required as the subject property is currently zoned R1, and the proposed R2 would allow for the minimum lot size of 400 meters squared, enabling the applicant to subdivide the property into two small lots. The proposed site plan illustrates that all proposed lots conform with the minimum lot size for the R2 zone. Official community plan. And the current OCP designation on the property is low medium density residential. The proposed rezoning would comply with the OCP's designation density requirements. The OCP seeks to accommodate diverse housing options as a form of infill and intensification in existing low density neighborhoods and supports smaller lots where possible and suitable. The proposed rezoning and subsequent subdivision of the subject property complies with the OCP designation and policies. Subdivision and development servicing bylaw. Off-site servicing costs and any additional engineering requirements will be secured through the subdivision process. Development cost charges will be payable at the subdivision stage. Land use procedure bylaw. As per the Town of Osoyo's land use procedure bylaw number 1235, the zoning application signage was placed on the subject land, notifying the public and of the pending application. Once a public hearing date has been set by the neighboring properties and tenants, they received the notification by mail and notices and was placed in the newspaper as required underneath the local government act. The rationale for our recommendation is staff is of the opinion that the site is suitable for a smaller lot size, and the proposed development is in keeping with the spirit of the OCP, and the new subdivision will contribute to the housing stock demand for the town. Options. Option 1 is that zoning amendment bylaw number 1085.142 be read for a third time. Option 2 is council determines that the consideration for the zoning amendment bylaw number 1085.142 should take place at a later date. And option 3 is that council defeats the bylaw out of the reading.
Good. So we're going to leave it at there for now. We'll look at the rest later. Thank you very much. So we have had one item of correspondence that has been received, an email from Hugh Mosher dated May 24th. I'm not going to read it because it has been included in the agenda package. So next I would, we have a couple of things to do. One is that the applicant may make a presentation, and then there will be time for the public to make presentations, and then council will ask questions if they choose to. So is the applicant here, and would he like to come up to the microphone, please? Thank you, Mr. Witcherly.
I did not plan to come up, but I'm here. I think it gives the opportunity to just.
Sorry, could you give your name and address first? We need
Certainly.
all that.
Herb Butcherly, I live at 3209 Jasmine Drive. That's it.
Thank you.
I was saying I didn't plan on speaking, but I'm here. I might as well stand up, and if there's questions, I can answer them, but I can quickly say this piece of property has been run down over the years. I own several other rental properties in town and I rebuild them all. I take good care of them. So I think that the house will be fixed up, the existing home will be fixed up, making it look much better. The yard work will be all finally brought into good care. The new home, if this goes through, will be built on a smaller lot. It will be a smaller home. And building heights will be as per bylaws, and what's allowed in town, and side yards and all of that stuff. So I think we're getting, the existing home will stay as a rental house, which I think is good for the town. I don't plan on selling that house. I plan on keeping it. And the new home has not been designed, but when it does get designed, if this is approved, like I said, it will be designed in accordance to the bylaws and whatever is allowed to be done. So other than that, I don't have much to add. Unless there's questions.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Councillor King.
Yeah, with if this new zoning goes past, about how large would the house be?
I can't even, I haven't looked at that. It's,
Mr. J, do you know? No, is there a minimum size on a lot this size?
Thank you, Mayor McCarthy. No, there's no minimum size, but there are minimum setbacks from the front, rear, and side lot lines that would have to be adhered to, and a maximum height, overall height of 9 meters, which is the same height restriction under the R1 zone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? No? Good. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Witcherly. And I'm wondering if anyone who is in our audience, any of the public would like to speak at this time. No? All right. So if there, and there are no council questions, all right. So I will ask again, I will have to say this 3 times. So I will ask the public if anyone wishes to speak to this application. I will ask a second time if anyone wishes to speak to this application. And I will ask a third time if anyone wishes to speak to this application. So I would need a motion, please, that the first public hearing be adjourned and that council move into the second public hearing. Councillor Bennett, Councillor Harvey, all in favor. Thank you very much. And we will now go to calling the to order the second public hearing at 2:14 in the afternoon. And I will read the statement of the chair for the second public hearing. This public hearing is convened pursuant to section 464 of the Local Government Act, RSBC 2015, to allow the public to make representation to council respecting matters contained in zoning amendment bylaw number 1085.136/2021. Every person present who believes that their interest in property is affected by the proposed bylaw shall be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard respecting matters contained in the proposed bylaw. None of you will be discouraged or prevented from making your views known. However, it is important that you restrict your remarks to matters contained in the proposed bylaw. If you wish to speak once it is time for public representation and are attending in person, please proceed to the microphone and commence your remarks by clearly stating your name and address. If you wish to speak and are attending virtually, please virtually raise your hand. If you are unsure how to do so, you may find the information on the town's website. It will be your turn to speak once your name or phone number has been called. Your microphone will be unmuted and you may commence your remarks by clearly stating your name and address. Once you have finished speaking, your microphone will be muted. If they wish, members of council may ask you questions following your presentation. However, the function of council at this public hearing is to listen to you rather than to debate the merits of the proposed bylaw. In accordance with council procedure bylaw, presentations by members of the public shall be limited to a maximum of 5 minutes each. If a person has additional information that they are unable to provide within that time frame, they shall be given further opportunity to address council after all other interested members of the public have been heard a first time. Please refrain from applause or other expressions of emotion during this public hearing so that we may ensure as impartial a hearing as possible. After this public hearing is adjourned, council members will not speak to the public on this matter until after the matter has been dealt with at a public meeting. After this public hearing has concluded, council may without further notice give whatever effect council believes proper to the presentations made at this hearing. So I will ask the corporate officer, please, to confirm the notice requirements.
Notice of this public hearing is given in accordance with the Local Government Act and Community Charter by distributing the notice as follows. Publishing in 2 consecutive editions of the Times Chronicle on May 12th and May 19th. Placing on the notice of the public notice bulletin boards at the town office and Planning and Development Services on May 11th. And posted the notice on the town's website on March 11th and distributed, I'm sure she meant May 11th, and distributed via e-news May 11th. And notices were mailed out on May 11th and within a 60-meter radius from May 11th.
Thank you. Could you do the summary of the staff report, please?
The purpose of this meeting is to seek the public input on zoning amendment bylaw number 1085-136, which received first and second reading on May 10th. The bylaw proposes to rezone the property to accommodate a 40-unit townhome complex on the eastern portion of the property.
Thank you very much. So I will now ask Ms. McKay to do the staff report, please.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. So as noted previously, the subject property is located at 5003 Lakeshore Drive. The current owners of the property are Hot Sound Developments. The applicant, Mr. Christopher Ross, is in the audience with us today, and his architect, David Daniluk, is joining us via the World Wide Web. So the recommendation for us today is that zoning amendment bylaw number 1085.136 2021 be read for a third time, subject to comments received at this meeting. Again, council granted first and second reading to the amending bylaw on May 10th, 2022, and if approved, the development would consist of a 40-unit townhome complex and a small cafe. So again, the applicant is proposing to develop the eastern portion of this property, which we commonly refer to here as the waterslide property, with a 40-unit townhome development. Attached to my report are illustrations of the proposed development. And again, the western portion of the property will remain as a commercial site with the current zoning to accommodate a small cafe. So again, the current zoning on the property is C4 or tourist commercial, which would support the proposed use on the western portion only. And that area is 0.45 of a hectare. Again, the cafe would have a footprint of about 264 square meters and includes some outdoor dining space. The parking requirements would only be 11 stalls, but the actual number of stalls identified on the site plan is greater than that which is required. So again, the townhouse complex itself area is over 1 hectare, which under the R7 density would support up to 75 units, and the proposed density of 40 units is well below that which would be permitted under the R7 zone, and of course, much less than what would be permitted under the C4 zone. So I note that garages in each of the homes accommodate up to 2 vehicles, and most of the driveways in front also accommodate additional 2 vehicles, which exceeds the required number of parking spaces. They've also provided some on-site visitor parking. Site maneuverability mapping was provided by the applicant. It illustrates emergency access vehicles will be able to navigate the site. And again, the secondary exit at the top of the site provides for an added safeguard if needed. So again, the applicant is proposing to install remote controlled sliding gates between the commercial use and the residential use. And of course, all emergency service vehicles will be equipped with the means to open the gate both electronically and physically if required. And again, emergency service vehicles entrance or exit is also on via 41st Pat Street. So discussion with respect to the OCP, again, the eastern portion of the property is already designated as high density residential in response to comments heard through our most recent OCP process. And so the development proposal is consistent with the official community plan. The townhome development requires the issuance of development permit, as does the cafe portion of the property. The proposed development is aligned with the multifamily development permit area guidelines as set out in the town's OCP. And attachment 3 to this report provides a draft of the development permit, which would be finalized between third and fourth readings should we proceed with the proposal. The proposed cafe again also requires a DP, and we would also proceed with details of that plans in the next report to council. Options to council today, again, that option is number 1, that bylaw number 1085.136 be read for a third time. That count, or option 2, that council determines consideration of bylaw amendment 185.136 2021 should take place at a later date, or option 3, that council defeat the bylaw at third reading. Now, staff are recommending option 1, subject to comments received at the public hearing. Quick comment that I'd like to make to council is you'll note in the bylaw that it does state that the bylaw number is 1085.136 2021, although we are reading it in 2022, the bylaw number was issued in 2021. And again, the bylaw shall be cited as, for all intents and purposes, zoning amendment bylaw number 1085.136 2021. I believe in the last issuance, it said 2022, which of course is noted previously. The previous resolutions were to 2021 bylaw. So implications to the community, of course, the community benefits from the additional housing option. Preliminary development proposal package was forwarded to outside agencies for comment. No issues were raised, no concerns. I note that Ministry of Transportation did not raise any concerns, and in fact noted that it's outside of the 800-meter referral area. With respect to the budget, there's no implications to the town's budget. Development cost charges would be collected at building permit stage for each of the fourplexes and at building permit stage for the cafe. Again, notification of the public hearing was as per the comments received from the corporate officer. The property is located within a municipally serviced area, and town services are available at the site. And any other off-site servicing that may be required would be secured at time of subdivision of the 2 parcels. Consultation with staff at the Suez Fire Department, operational services, town's building official has already taken place in addition to the town's engineer of record, and further discussions would continue with those bodies as part of the subdivision and building permit processes. Thank you, Mayor McCord.
Thank you very much. Okay. And next, we will note that there are 2 pieces of correspondence that have been received, and they are included in the package. One, an email from Sean York and Jeff Wilkinson, and another from Carl and Peggy Evans. And so I'm going to see if the applicant would like to make a presentation. Is the applicant here? Would you please come up to the microphone and state your name and address first?
Good afternoon. My name is Christopher Ross. I am the president and managing partner of Hot Sands Development. The project that is going on in the old water slides park. We came out for a long weekend holiday. My wife and kids went and played in the lake, and I went looking for real estate. So I didn't spend as much time in the water as I hoped, but we really like the Soyuz. We really like this location. It's got beautiful view corridors. We're trying to bring something that offers people in Soyuz the opportunity for lifestyle features with a really nice little restaurant right across the beach up front. We've taken real care and consideration in our designs to try to consider our neighbors. And I'm going to call it to the north because I kind of get turned around my compass here, but I'll say within the trailer park group. And I have talked to the Strata manager on a few occasions, and we have some ongoing correspondence with some of the owners that we're going to be meeting with this weekend, giving them further information on this. I also have our architect, David Daniluk, the gentleman in the black sweater in the bottom of the screen there, available on any, if there's any questions that you may have from the technical point of view. We gave this a very thoughtful process. basically to build very large, roomy, lifestyle, house-oriented style townhouses. It's called the 5th generation townhouse. Every townhouse will have a private elevator in it. And the living quarters of the townhouses will be on the top floor to take advantage of the views. So when you walk in the front door, you step into an elevator and it brings you up to the open room concept at the top of each townhouse, where we have elevated ceiling and we have all of the view corridors. We're also looking at a few things that are wanting to green. We'll use green energy technology with solar panels. And I'll use the brand name Tesla that have the shingle patterns that we're looking at on our extended roof line. Just to try to, our goal was to minimize carbon-based fuel consumption on the site with the end product and try to do everything we could to green the space up. And I think we've got it covered. Like as I mentioned, these larger townhouses are 24 feet wide, which allows us to place rooms side by side like a conventional house. And we found that we have not done anything other than the design concept, but we found the interest from the public to be very strong for this type of product coming on the market.
Can I just check first? You do not have an address. Do you require an address of Mr.
Oh.
Ross?
Yeah, 7743 Stave Lake Street, Mission.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, council, does anyone have any, go ahead, Councillor King.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. If this zoning was to pass where the townhouses are, is there extra parking for guests?
Yes, yeah.
And where would that be?
We have them throughout the site, David. We have them at the top, the middle, and the bottom of the site. We've tried to spread them throughout so that people, when they come to visit their friends and they're carrying a cake and they're carrying a bottle of wine and all this, that they're not walking 2 or 3 blocks up. So we try to distribute the parking throughout the site. And I forget how many parking, David, I don't know how many parking stalls we have for the guests of the townhouses on site.
I don't have the drawings in front of me, so I can't comment on that, but I will add that in front of each townhouse, where we have the garage doors,
Yeah,
there are also 2 parking spaces for visitors there as well.
yeah.
So they
that's-
can either serve for visitors or for the resident if they have additional vehicles.
My experience has been, no matter what you build, you never have enough parking.
That's why I asked the question. Maybe Ms. McKay can kind of point out, this map is kind of big and
Right.
small. Roughly how many extra parking spaces is on the townhouse side?
So there's an additional 10 parking spaces are allocated to the townhomes themselves. But the number of parking spaces provided exceeds that required under the R7 zoning. So right now, the R7 zoning oddly requires 1.75 spaces per residential unit. So there's 2, as Mr. Daniluk pointed out, within the building, 2 on the exterior of each townhome, and then those additional parking spaces which can be allocated to anybody who park there. So we do feel that there has been adequate parking provided.
Thank you.
Okay,
And we did the same with the restaurant. I think we have 23
you have, yes.
stalls, because with the restaurant, again, one of the common issues is there's never enough parking. So,
So that kind of leads to my next question. If guests at the townhouse park on the restaurant side, who gets preference, the townhouse or the restaurant?
well, it's
Or
a
who
good, it's a
monitors
good
it?
question. And whenever you do mixed use development, it's always a contentious issue when someone comes in and parks in a residential spot and then goes out for dinner, or vice versa, parks in the restaurant spot and goes up. Which is why we have the, like, I'll use the term gated community, so that it separates the townhouses from the restaurant. There's also a little bit of an elevation change in there, so we've set it up to try to separate the restaurant solely for the restaurant parking, and the same with the parking requirements for the townhouses.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Councillor Bennett, you have a question?
Thank you, Mayor, Madam Mayor. Just I was just over there and kind of walked around. And I look at the very top and there's a kind of a very flat spot. And then I imagine you have a retaining wall and your first row of houses on the very top. My concern is about water. Because that could be retaining water up in that top of the hill. And I used to be a creek kind of going through there, and I imagine that's part of the bylaws of how that water comes off there, but further down we have some springs. So my concern would just be a water run.
Yeah.
Control that.
A valid concern, there is water flow through the property. We've done extensive geotechnical drilling and drill stem testing down to 50 feet, I think it was. We wanted to know really what is there. There's some hard pan, there's some glacial silt, but there is a water flow that comes down about 1.5 meters underneath the surface. And currently right now it's being piped under the site and out across Lakeshore Drive into the lake. And any water flow through, our engineers have looked at, would have to be filtered and cleaned at the bottom of the site through sluice boxes. But we want the normal runoff water. There's irrigation water from the grape fields above us, and then there's also 6 houses above us that have septic fields, and I don't know if they water their lawns much out here, but there is some water runoff from that. So we have also looked at all that. We've taken lab samples of all the water to try to identify and come up with a management program in our civil engineering to be able to process that water through the site.
Could I ask you to comment? Mr.
Sure.
Kay, is there anything that can be set before the application?
Thank
Can
you,
we
Mayor
look at that
McCarthy.
first?
It's actually a requirement of the subdivision process, is that a stormwater management plan for both the townhome site and for the cafe site. It's a requirement part of the subdivision approval that they identify how much runoff, how they're gonna contain the runoff, as much as possibly, like to see as much runoff as possible contained on site. So that usually means installation of holding cells, et cetera, which Mr. Ross is familiar with, having worked in other areas on slopes. He's familiar with that process, and I've spoken directly with the engineers, and so have our engineers spoken directly, and they understand the process that's required.
Thank you, because I think that water is a key issue in this town, from every angle. And we certainly know that the Water Quality Society have been putting up painted fish around areas to remind people that any runoff goes into the lake. And the lake is what keeps us alive for tourists and for our residents. So we absolutely need to make sure that that is dealt with appropriately. And I will leave that to Ms. McKay to make sure that that's. Anybody else have any questions? No? All right. So thank you, Mr. Ross. I will now open this up to anyone from the public who would like to come up to the microphone and make a presentation. Go ahead, please. Come up. Yes. Please remember, state your name and address.
Yes.
Thank you.
Roxanne McCloskey, 5225 Lakeshore Road.
Thank you. Go ahead.
My concern are boats and people, and I do own lakefront and people coming and using our lakefront. I don't know if you've given any consideration, like there's so many buoys already out. Sitting out almost right to the end of the lake as far as they can go. Is there any rules on that? Is there any way to stop it from happening? Because they've only got a little bitty beach out there.
They would certainly not be able to park on your beach. Am I correct, Ms. McKay?
That's correct.
So the boats that were coming in, are you thinking that boats that might approach that were going to go up to the where the, and they want to park their boat for the day? Yes.
If I may,
You asked that
Clara,
for
thank
sure.
you very much. That's actually public beach, and so you're not
Oh,
permitted to have your boats buoyed in front of that public beach, nor pull them up on that public beach. As far as the issue of buoys in the lake is concerned, as part of our foreshore and lake zoning bylaw update, which we will be completing hopefully around this time next year, if not sooner. Request for expressions of interest will be released later this month. I should say later this month, it's almost over, the middle of June for that process. And as part of that update, We're looking at possibly a buoy lease program. That would, of course, be future council's consideration to determine if that's a direction that they would like to go in. But that option will be available as part of the Foreshore Lake zoning bylaw update, which would eliminate the placement of buoys just everywhere in the lake. We're hoping. We do recognize it's a challenge for sure.
And I'm sure all these
Yeah,
people will
yeah.
want to have a boat in the water.
It's hard to be out here with, I just bought a 24-foot pontoon boat, so I
But,
mean,
you know, where are you
They
gonna
have
put
a
them?
problem finding a-
I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm
Yeah.
looking for moorage.
Yeah.
And I've talked to
Right.
Gina about this,
Yeah.
and it's a challenge because it's a historic mismatch of all different types. We would prefer a dock and structure and everything, but I think it's a longer process than that. We don't have any opportunity to allow boat moorage for our development at this juncture.
and if I may say, those persons that use the lake a lot, you know, there are limitations in that particular area due to the shallow waters in that area,
Yeah.
so. There are a lot of limitations with respect to the types of facilities that that area could accommodate, so. We recognize it's a problem.
And I didn't know if you knew that, right? That there is a problem with.
Yeah,
boats.
I had talked to Gene, we've had several discussions about boating and moorage and, you know, in front of this property, when you have the public beach, that it's a draw down into the area. And it's about moorage and parking, or parking and moorage. Pick your poison, right? It's one or the other. So it is an issue, and I mean, ideally, we would like to contribute to the solution by building moorages for boats that are structured. But I think that's a longer term. We're just trying to separate the issues and do the development. And then we're looking at taking one of these units ourselves for our family and then having a place. So I know where my boat is. It's not at the end of the lake.
Thank you very much, and believe me that those are all issues that we will be making sure is dealt with before we approve the development.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else from the public who would like to come up to the microphone and speak on this issue?
And or online. please.
Oh, I apologize. Who's up? Was there somebody that was?
No, just
Oh,
if there's.
is there anyone on the, that has phoned in on Zoom, that would like to speak? Yes, there is a hand up. Can you let that person in, please?
Go ahead, Sean.
Go ahead, Sean, please. See Sean unmuted?
He's on, yeah, they're muted.
Perhaps he doesn't want to speak. Does he have his hand up? It's hard for me to see that. No, nobody on Zoom that wishes to speak? Okay, thank you. I guess not. So, oh, could you check on that one then, please?
Sean, do you wish to speak?
Sean, we can't hear you. Are you, could you make sure that, that you are unmuted on your computer? I'm sorry, I don't see any reaction, so we will carry on. If he does come back with something, would you let me know, please? Okay, thank you. So we will go to, I will ask for the first time if anyone wishes to speak to this application. I will ask a second time if anyone wishes to speak to this application. And I will ask a third time if anyone wishes to speak to this application. Okay, hearing none, I will ask for a motion, please, that public hearings be closed. Counselor Harvey, Counselor Bennett, all in favor. Thank you. And just pointing out that no new information will be received by council on either one of these public hearings from now on. Okay, thank you. So we are on 90. but let me go past that. 1, 2. So we're looking for a bylaw amendment to amend zoning bylaw number 1085, 142, 2022. Am I correct in that? All right. Is there someone who wishes to move this? Moving it to be read a third time. Is there a seconder? Thank you. Councillor Harvey, Councillor King, Councillor Harvey, that was. I'll call the question. All in favor? Thank you. And zoning amendment bylaw number 1085-136, 2021, consideration of third reading, 5003 Lakeshore Drive. There's someone who would like to move that. Councillor Rhodes, seconder, Councillor Harvey. Any concerns, questions? All in favor? Thank you very much. Both of those have passed. Well, thank you, everyone. And we will now go to the next thing on our agenda is water districts 8 and 9. And we will have the financial accounts that the reported water district information be received for information. And the background on this is to report on expenditures from accounts payable for water councillors and council received. As of May the 24th, 2022, that is in the amount of $52,111.90. So the options are to receive this for information, to request further information from staff.
We have questions.
Before we move it, go ahead.
On MasterCard bills, there's 3 of them here from Bernstein and Mike. Mine is on Mark and April.
Yes.
Why would they use their own personal cards?
Could you ask Mr. Zapple?
So this is a corporate card that's been assigned to each of these director and supervisor. So when they're purchasing, most of the time this is purchasing water supplies that come from the States. And allows us to get that purchase going and get the materials coming. The only other alternative to that is them, because they're requiring that payment be made before they'll ship out the feed. So in Canada, we've got an agreement with the suppliers where they'll invoice us now. So that's what's happening. So, you know,
I thought it was into a seminar or something.
no.
Okay, so I just want to point out that I have a Visa card as well in my name.
But you don't use it.
Never
I
use
never
it.
use it.
Trying to get dinner out of it.
Okay, so thank you for moving and seconded the motion to receive the information for information purposes. All in favor? Thank you, everyone. Okay, next is correspondence, and that would be, I had it all underlined, Mrs. Robinson, and now I know I'll have to sort of dream it up, so I had it all underlined, and then she changed the pages. So the Okanagan Basin Water Board had its last board meeting on May the 6th. And one of the interesting things that happened was a presentation from Carrie Alex from Okanagan Nation Alliance, fisheries biologist, and she was talking about trying to do some stream restoration and work to ensure environmental flow needs to the fish in the valley. And there were several things that had happened that was making it difficult for fish to return, and including historic diking and channeling, climate change, and licenses for water withdrawals were also making it difficult to get cool water for the right time for the cycles of the fish. She did her presentation from the viewpoint of the fish, not of people, and it was quite interesting. So we quite enjoyed her presentation. There's an interesting thing about milfoil. I see that there's the harvester and the harvester and the one that pulls out the roots, rototiller, and they have been busy doing that in the lakes in the Okanagan. There was a red rototiller at the head of the Suez Lake the other day that I noticed. A group of students from UBCO have been trying to find a better way to harvest the milfoil. We're never going to get rid of it. And one of the things they have is to take the milfoil out, shred it, take most of the water out of it, and store it on the barge until they can get it to shore. Because right now, the milfoil comes up on the shore. It has to be stored somewhere, which isn't usually a very pretty sight. And they need to then get a truck to pick it up and haul it. Now, some people use it for fertilizer for their garden. Sometimes it's taken to a landfill. But this is a really interesting project that the students have come up with. And I think it will be, what a great idea. And so we're hoping that it works. There's also a source water protection toolkit, which is a big thing that the OBWB has done. And you will probably notice that the Make Water Work videos have been coming out, and the mayors are in the whole valley are asked to do this. And thank heavens, Mr. Saunders was there to help me do this, because the day that we chose to do it, we were going to go down and show all of the low water plants that were at Veterans Park. But when we got there, the wind was so high that Matt said, "We can't hear you. All we can hear is the wind." So we had to go to the end of the marina, go down some stairs where it was protected, and do it down there. And still, the video has my hair flying all over the place. So it's just an interesting thing that we do every year in order to try and make people realize that it's important to water between dusk and dawn, to also remind the town and our town employees that they need to water property as well, and not on the roads. and to plant plants that are suitable for a desert climate, to make sure that you don't mow your grass too low, keep it a little taller, because that means it absorbs the moisture more. And to look at your irrigation system and make sure it's tuned up properly. So those are some of the things that we have talked about at the Okanagan Basin Water Board. So could I have a motion, please, that we have this report received and filed? Thank you. Councillor Bennett, Councillor King, all in favor. Thanks, everybody. All right, next is, we have a report from the fire chief. Would you like to give us your report, please? Chief Courtmeyer.
Yes, Mayor, thank you to the rest of council. In front of you today is a pre-budget approval for purchase of a new rescue apparatus. In the maximum spending allowed with this, excluding GST, is $350,000 to replace our aged rescue vehicle as we have it now. I've recommended that council grant pre-approval budget as per the report.
Okay. And I see that the current vehicle is 25 years old, and it doesn't have the capability of doing what it's supposed to do.
Yeah, it has a numerous list of limitations for our emergency response.
So this was put in the budget for 2023, is that correct? So you're just asking to presumably to have the money now because it will take some time to have it ordered and get here?
Selecting a proponent and doing a pre-approval process will guarantee that we at least receive it in 2023 or 2024.
Thank you, Mr. Zackel, and then Councillor King, and then Councillor Harvey.
So a couple of things, Mayor Kordoff. So yes, the money is being proposed to be spent in this current fiscal year. Through the process of them searching and sourcing the right unit and going through that process, it's a year to 2 years waiting period before we'd actually receive it. The other thing is the Chief Gortmeyer also had a meeting with the Rural Fire Protection District to bring this forward for them as well, asking for their blessing and their approval for moving this forward. And at that point in time, the council have to be, do you want to?
The board was receptive to the purchase.
Yes.
Does the OIB need to be contacted as well?
No,
No.
because the way their agreement is set up, they pay based on the budget and the rates that are established. So that's, we basically, because we're different taxing authorities, it's just to ensure that we.
Thank you.
Mayor and council have also, through you to rest of council, sorry, Mayor, it was also identified in the 5-year financial plan that you guys have already seen last year, and it was also identified in the fire department master plan that was off about 3 years now. So
Thank you. Councillor King.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I guess I'm just looking at it. You asked for 350, but the option here says 360.
That's a typo.
That's a typo. I just want to, and is it normal that don't you usually just put like a down payment on, or do you have to pay all the money up front?
there's a number of ways that you can actually do financing dependent on how much money there is available. There's sometimes an installment plan for incentive purchasing. So you can do prepayments ahead of time. However, I do believe that no money will transpire any hands until it is actually delivered. Other than maybe the interior purchasing office, which we do all of our purchasing through. But yeah, no, there won't be any monies that would be spent until the 2023 fiscal year.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Harvey.
Yeah, a question on, I don't know, maybe accountability. Just how does it work that this council can give a pre-budget approval for a budget that this council is never going to see? And, you know, it kind of, you know, makes me smile because obviously it's possible that I'm interested in how that works. But we could spend like drunken sailors and voice it all on the next council in the next 6 months.
Some people might want to get elected again, though, and so that they would maybe not do that.
Just, you know, there's checks and balances, but anyway.
Yeah.
So ultimately, you know, you've got the philosophy of when you're leasing properties and things of that nature. Agreements, council can make agreements that are up to the 5 years, up to the 5-year period without getting a notice of disposition for getting electoral approval, those kind of things, providing notice. Likewise, council approves and adopts a 5-year financial plan, which shows the operating and capital projects that are within that. Historically, we've normally dealt with just the current year when we're talking about items. But because of the nature of the environment and the length of time it takes for getting fleet type of vehicles into our system, I think is very efficient of the organization to be moving forward faster than slower to get these, because even if we waited to, as an example, to the 2023 year, what you've got is it's going to be 2 years then after that, if we're lucky to get this piece of equipment. It's definitely stated that the need is there. The need was for it to be here in 2023. Even by ordering it or getting the process started in 2022, we're not going to see that till 2024.
I appreciate all of that, and it all makes perfect sense. It's just this council versus the council that's actually gonna do the 2023 budget. Won't have the same composition. It might, but it might not, probably not. And how do you line those up? And it must happen every election.
Absolutely. So right now, this is a council elect. This is the council's making the decisions for the town of Osoyoos.
Okay.
You are responsible right up until the new council is sworn in. When you get down to the last month, when the new council has been elected and things of that nature, usually contentious issues would be left for the new council to come in to make those decisions, but
I
something
just
of this-
wanted to kind of understand that to make sure that, because they don't line up, it's still okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Okay, Councillor King.
Yeah, thank you, Senator. I guess I look at it the other way. Since this was put in the budget 5 months ago, how confident that you have enough money? Or maybe coming back for another, who knows what?
No, we can't.
Through you, Mayor, to Councillor King, when I moved here, I was thinking I was gonna be getting into a house for about 520,000.
Yeah.
It's amazing how things change in a very short period of time. If there is a need for additions at the very end, we know traditionally what the chassis will cost and what the labor will cost. Depending on the type of rescue unit that we purchase, it will be a chassis and then a box, an aluminum box. It doesn't have a lot of plumbing and parts and pieces as a structural engine would. So I would believe that there would be less fluctuations for something that isn't very, it's not a technical build by any stretch of that.
What you're really telling me, you feel very confident we have enough money here. You won't be coming for any more?
As I would say in the crystal ball, projecting a year and a half out, I'd be lying and dying on the sword if I were to affirm that. I do believe that there should be enough room in the budget to get what we need in that.
So you kind of lock in a price here once you take it out, if this gets approved and maybe give some money down, so you're locked in at a price?
It's very interesting that you say that, because we've had colleagues in the business, other municipalities that have already purchased a vehicle that a year and a half later, the manufacturer comes back and says, we can't provide that for you anymore. Even though that they have been kind of on the reservation line and list. And some of the contract wording in our last purchase, we didn't leave the proponent much room to exit stage left and blame it on supply chain issues. So with all of this, I'm confident that we will be bringing a unit in.
Well, that's for sure.
It is.
That's a
It's just when is the crystal ball method looking as far.
I'll just ask Mr. Zackerman, how much continuing is built into this budget?
0. No.
Not 10% or something, 15%?
Through our budgeting process, we try to ensure that we've got enough money in the budget for these projects. The fire department, I believe if the fire chief is saying that he can meet his goals of the rescue truck within that 350,000, it will happen. For the most part, there's not a lot of contingency built into our budget, other than we try to be as close to actual as possible.
Again, that was 5 months ago.
Yeah, but that's where.
You'd probably save 15% if it wasn't red.
If it wasn't what?
Red.
Could be.
Through you, Mayor, to Councillor, yeah, the red paint color sometimes has a bitter taste.
Okay, so Councillor King, are you moving this?
Yeah, I'll move it for 350,000.
Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Rhodes? Anything else? All in favor? Thank you very much. Yes, Mr. Saunders, would you like to come up to the table here?
Oh, I get some.
So we are going to ask Mr. Saunders to give us the grant application Community Emergency Preparedness Fund report as Mr. Brownstein is on holiday.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll
Thank
do
you.
my best Director Bronstein impression. No, I'm happy to present this to Mayor and Council on behalf of the Director of Operations. So at this time, the RDOS has submitted a grant application or seeks to submit a grant application through UBCM under the Community Emergency Preparedness Fund in an effort to bolster emergency support services, resources and training in 2022, 2023.
This out of the way, please. Thank you. Sorry. go
That's
ahead.
okay. So at this time, the goal is to, the RDOS will be championing this program for facilitating ESS training throughout the 83,000 or so population of the RDOS jurisdictional boundary and the various ESS teams that are in place in those regions. So in this proposed application, the RDOS will be managing and administering all the funds and the education programs themselves. It's proposed that the Village of Karamias, the Town of Princeton, Town of Osoyoos, at Council discretion, and the District of Summerland will support the application with various board resolutions and council resolutions as they come. So the goal is to provide ESS staff in the community with a higher level of emergency preparedness and management, and to provide ongoing support with our existing ESS leaders and volunteers. And the focus is to really look at integrations of systems. There's the online support tool now that the RDOS administrates, and the goal is to get everyone kind of talking on the same page. So this is 100% funded through UBCM, and there are no additional budget impacts to this. The proposed start date for the program is June 22, completion June 2023. Recommendation for council, the proposed motion is the council supports the submission of a grant application to the Community Emergency Preparedness Fund under the 2022 Emergency Support Services stream through the RDOS. And further, that the RDOS receive and manage the grant funding on behalf of the town of Osoyoos. We have to answer the question.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, Councillor King.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. You more actually can answer this, but really the rationale why Oliver isn't involved in this?
Or Penticton.
Yeah, it was interesting to note that.
And if you don't have an answer, then.
Yeah, no, it's, I wouldn't want to speculate on that. Unfortunately.
Okay, is this one motion or does it need to be divided? One. Is there anyone who would like to make the motion? Councillor King, thank you. Councillor Harvey is seconding that. All in favor? Thanks, everybody. Okay, next is the general net payroll and Sun Bowl Arena financial accounts. So that the accounts be received for information. And as of May the 24th, 2022, general cash requirements are $601,514.67. Sun Bowl cash requirements of $13,211.92, and net payroll accounts of $110,911.04. And the options are to approve them or to request additional information. What would you like to do, Council? Councillor Harvey's moving option one. Thank you. Councillor Rhodes seconding that. All in favor. Thank you, everybody. And no bylaws. Oh, the age-friendly accessibility and age-friendly committee meeting minutes are here. Councillor King, is there anything that you would like to speak to or add to this?
Nothing really to add, just to make the note that we will be purchasing, what do you call it? Trail rider. And a trail rider is a person in a wheelchair that can get into this apparatus and with 2 or 3 volunteers can actually take them up the trails and get quite high in the mountains where it would be impossible for a person in a wheelchair to get. So we're very excited that to have that. We'll be in town shortly. along with the apparatus that you can go in the lake with also will be available. So we're quite excited about that. And we did support some money going towards the sailing club to help the walkway, I guess, so people in wheelchairs or with disabilities can actually get down and around the building there to get onto boats. So we're pretty excited about that also.
Good. No, in reading the report, there's a lot of things that are being done by this committee that are positives. How about the Moby mats? Is that what they're called?
Yeah,
Are
the
they
Moby
going-
mats will be going out here shortly. We're just kind of waiting for the little bit warmer weather, but they're on the drawing board. They should be out next week or so.
Great. Thank you very much. Anybody else have any questions or concerns? Okay, thank you. So could we have a motion, please, to that the minutes be received as information? Councillor King, Councillor Bennett, all in favor. Thank you. And could we have a report from our CAO, Mr. Zacco, please?
Yes, so this is on the recommendations that the May 24th CAO report be received for information. For CAO, reviewing reports and updating agendas. Corporate Services Director has been busy working on postings and other various human resources for the issues for the town. Director participated in CAO interviews. Victim Services Agreement have been signed off with both the town and Victim Services Manager and Worker. Director worked with our Staff Sergeant Hunter to set up a meeting between the RCP, Mayor and Deputy CAO. The Director worked with Director of Community Services for the EOI expression of interest for the Desert Sunrise Marina. Director and Deputy Corporate Officer participated in the regional EOC exercise with the other staff, town staff that involved various municipalities and the RWS in the region. Deputy Corporate Officer is working on the annual report. Corporate Service Admin Support organized the vault. Corporate Service Admin Support completing scanning for the town open minutes into the town's electronic management system, as well as a part of her files. By law enforcement officer have been busy dealing with various Airbnbs, complaints, handling out public hearing notices, dealing with various dog issues, various signage requests, and patrolling the boat trailer parking lot. Under operational services, water and wastewater, pump and motor installed at well number 4, well number 3 hypo failure, pump repaired, reservoir overflow of Fairway Hills, new level transmitter installed, new fan installed and operating at the 81st Street wastewater pump station for odor control. Irrigation mainline repairs on 91st Street complete. Starting water service installation on 62nd Quail and Nighthawk. Development servicing started by contracted forces. Flushing wastewater mainline trouble spots. Starting seasonal lake sampling for beach users. Under the Public Works for park seasonal mowing. Mowed the Palms property. Waiting for the new pump for Pioneer Walkway pumping will be 11 to 12 weeks. 6 yards of mulch to Pioneer Walkway. Ongoing repairs to park irrigation systems. Hanging baskets and planters planted. Spraying trees for aphids. Place dock at Gyro Beach. Under capital, Legion Beach construction has started. Main Street concept designs, final concept received and being reviewed. SCADA upgrades continuing, starting migration to the VST SCADA. South domestic servicing, all tie-ins complete, working on final steps to completion. Active transportation plan, council engagement in June of 2022. Survey information on website and a mail out. Starting to work on 2022 capital programs. Initial discussions with electrical engineer about generator placements. Preliminary road designs complete. Reviewing design work continuing for OH&S upgrades for agricultural irrigation system 8 and 9. Design work continuing for hypo injection system at wastewater treatment lagoon. Fleet, all equipment in service. Landfill solid waste, ongoing staffing issues for the scale due to illness. Under community services, staff attended the BCRPA and RFA BC conferences at the beginning of the month. All staff felt that the sessions were beneficial and enjoyed their time learning and reconnecting with the colleagues. Sonora Community Center held a teen dance on May 13th. Plans are underway to create more youth events for the fall. Summer programming has started. Plans are underway for the return to the Cactus State Kids Camp, Tykes Camp, for preschoolers and swimming lessons in the lake, once again through waterways. Under planning and development services, last of the business license payments are coming in now. Food truck vendors inquiries are coming in. Development inquiries on the rise again with warmer weather approaching. Under staff, the director and planning technician took part in the EOC emergency operations training, a multi-jurisdictional training exercise. The director and planning technician attended the RMI initiative meeting. Administrative support took part in the Okanagan-Smokemean inter-community business licensing meeting. Under business licensing, 2 new business license applications, one for South Okanagan Drywall and one for Richards Plumbing and Heating. One business closed, and that's Diaz Electric. Under building permits, year to date, an estimated value of $6,902,000 is the number, and the amount that are waiting for pickup are $6,860,000. Under finance, completed the Sophie reports and finalized annual report for the finance section, generating property tax notices. They will be mailed out this week. Processed 1 FOA request with no additional one pending. Water twinning grant processing, processed and mail out the federal grants and lieu billings. Processed and submitted all the statutory requirements under section 187, 190, and 167 of the community charter for the reporting of the 2021 local government data entry financial reports and the 2022 tax and financial plan information. And that is my report at this time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zackel. Sounds like everybody's been busy.
Yeah.
For sure. I just had one question that you were talking about, was the Legion washrooms. They have started, but I haven't seen anything going on there for a couple of weeks, and I'm wondering, is there stopping for a reason, or do you know?
I don't know,
Okay,
but it's something that I'll find out.
yeah,
I'll send a message off to all the council to give an update.
thank you very much. Just seemed to me that they were gonna have it ready soon, and I think that it looks like it's stopped for quite a while. Okay, thank you very much. So we need a motion, please, to accept the CAO report. Councillor Bennett, Councillor Rhodes, thank you very much. All in favor? Thank you. We'll go on to council reports. Councillor Harvey.
I have nothing to report for this evening.
Thank you. Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Robert Cardoff. Ditto, I have nothing to report.
Okay, thank you. Councillor King.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Attended the Community Service Advisory Committee last week by Zoom. Very well attended. Couple of things on, I guess, the list that are just catching up is some accessibility windows at Sonora Center, and the counter space, I believe, is already done if you get by Sonora Center. And the work has started up at Desert Park RV site, improving the electrical and the sewer up there. So the people up there are very excited about that.
Good, thank you. Councillor Bennett.
Nothing to report.
Okay, he's having trouble with with his throat today, so that's fine. I just had a couple of things. One is that I was on the last week's meeting with Interior Health and the mayors that we have every couple of weeks. And there is an Interior Health toolkit for heat planning, and that's put out by Interior Health. And so somebody asked, what do you call, like, what are the parameters around heat planning? So you need to have something in effect, or municipality should, if you have 2 days over 35 degrees Celsius and nights higher than 18 degrees Celsius. And that's interesting, okay? And it's Tanya Osborne, who is on that other committee that you're on, Councillor King. And I thought that was quite interesting, that that's what they base it on, that, you know, that's too hot. So let's hope we don't have any of those this year, although we quite often have days over 35, don't we? So I'm not sure how that'll work. And the Interior Health clinics for second boosters are now open, and it has to be, it's mainly for seniors first. And it is open at the Sonora Center, I think it's starting today. And actually, I got an invitation and I'm going down there tomorrow to get my booster. So anybody who has had their third and is waiting for the next booster, there has to be 6 months between the third and the fourth. And actually, it was practically to the day for me. So and it was very easy. There was lots of space to get in at the Sonora Center. And the other day I was at Tumbleweed, the opening. The distillery has reopened under a different owner. But he has maintained some of the staff that were already there. And the paper, the Times Chronicle, Don Urquhart was also there, and he said, do you go and attend every opening of a new business? And I said, no, only when I'm invited. And if someone sends me an invitation and asks me to attend, then I will certainly try to do that, or I will check with the acting mayor and see if they'd like to go. Anyway, they were very appreciative, and they have some smaller bottles of the alcohol there, and it was well attended, and Brock Jackson was there with the radio, so that was good. And I'm dealing with quite a few things right now, including healthcare. The RDOS, they Okanagan Similkameen Regional Hospital District. Mayor Johansson and I are the chair and vice chair of that, and we are having a meeting next week, a Zoom meeting with divisions of family practice and quite a few of the doctors in Oliver Asuyas. And we're going to talk about ways that we can get healthcare moving. We seem to have been talking about it, got things, primary care networks for a long, long time. We've been talking about this. I remember going to meetings starting in 2015 over in Karamias on a monthly basis. So it seems to have stalled. So we are going to meet and see if we can't come up with some sort of a solution and look at ways to deal with this. And actually next week, Martin Johansson, Mayor of Oliver, is actually going to Victoria and has a meeting with Minister Dix. And it was going to be quite a long 3 days, and he invited me to go as well, but I've decided that it would be better for my schedule to be involved and either a Zoom or a phone meeting. And Minister Dix's office has set up there so that I can join as well. So we're looking at trying to make things easier, and we know there are tons of concerns about doctors and nurse practitioners and all of those issues. So we're doing our best to try and bring it to the attention of Ministry of Health, and we'll see what happens. So I will report back on that one later. So that's all that I had to talk about. And so I would like to have a motion, please, that pursuant to section 91C of the Community Charter, council meeting be closed to the public as the subject matter relates to labor relations or other employee relations. Could I have a motion, please? Councillor Rhodes, Councillor Bennett, all in favor. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Was Councillor Rhodes, you'll join the other meeting link?